It is my joy to be with you once again at St. Joseph's Parish. Whenever I come to the States, it's like coming back home. Some of you might wonder, this guy is from Kabale Diocese in Uganda. How does that feel like being home? If you have seen in the bulletin already, this week bulletin, 6 years ago, I was a student at the University of St. Thomas, St. Paul Seminary, and I happened to meet Father Paul. We were together for 4 years at the seminary, so I can say I know him much more. So far as you know him, I know you'll get to know him much more. But the 4 years, I got put up with him and learned many things from him. And it was a great blessing to know him. I remember the first time I came from Uganda to the States, it was like a bird flying from the sky to the ground. Everything was new. The ice cream, think of anything. I remember the first time I had ice cream. I came on the 28th August 2012. In the evening, after receiving me from the airport, the first thing they gave me was ice cream. It was too cold. Well, eventually I got to like it. I love strawberry ice cream, vanilla ice cream, but I like it more in the summertime, not in winter. I always made a joke. I knew we had too much snow in the Twin Cities, but the day I came here and Ruth, for a visit to the cathedral, and it was winter time, I saw at one of the rectories, snow was from the rooftop to the ground. I said, wow. Shockingly, I got my driving license during winter, and I guess it was like, panel beating me to make sure I get settled in Minnesota. So it feels back home. It feels like coming back home, and it's a joy to meet you and be able to tell you my experience. After 6 years, I went back to Uganda, and then I got ordained from Uganda. I was able to witness the ordination of Father Paul before I went to Uganda. So he got ordained 1 month before me. And then back home now, I am a pastor at Mary Queen of Apostles Parish in Uganda, and also I am a vocations director of Kabale Diocese. We are blessed in my diocese. We have about 70 seminarians each year. This year we have 8 deacons who are preparing to be ordained as priests this coming month. And so this coming year we have about 7 other guys preparing to be priests. So we are blessed with the increase in the vocations. And so we continue to pray for them, for the church. We know the Holy Spirit is working here and there to make sure the church is sustained and keeps growing. At my parish, we have, it's quite, compared to my diocese, most parishes in my diocese, it's a small parish, younger parish of 30 years. We have 4 southern families. 4 southern families, and then we have about 14 chapels, so we go there to administer sacraments. Then I have an associate, so right now is the one in charge when I'm not there. So it's a busy parish, but it's encouraging. Just last month we had 300 kids for First Holy Communion, and then 207 kids who received their confirmation with the bishop last month. So we keep praying for an increase in faith, but then that comes with a challenge, because we have to work harder to make sure these guys can know their faith. because we know social media is all over the world and tends to take them off the right path of Christ. So we work harder. We are blessed in my parish. We have 7 grade schools, 7 grade Catholic schools. So we make sure we groom our kids, we put them in the schools to make sure they grow their faith. They also study hard to make sure tomorrow they can be able to defend the faith. We also have a Catholic high school called Bishop Robert High School, where we know that most of our kids from the parish, after grade school, they go in this school for their high school, and it is close at the parish. However, some of the challenges we have in this high school, which I'm going to share with you, we have, it's a boarding and day school. So it means that students who are far and near and they like to stay at school for different reasons, for safety, for if they are coming from longer distances, they can stay at the school. However, we have a challenge. One day, in this parish, I'm 3 years in this parish, when it rains, I didn't know the roof of their dormitory, which is the old church. We have now a new church. The roof of the dormitory was leaking. And so one day it rained heavily, and then one of the students, the girls, her beddings were soaked in water. And then she came to me, Father, the dormitory is leaking. Say, what happened? The rooftop is open. I didn't know, because the iron sheets are too old and the building is too old and can't accommodate many students. So where I told her, we are going to get a couple of iron sheets and do, some little bit of prayers, but we realized it's not sustainable. So the parish council decided, let's make a plan to put up a new dormitory so that we can accommodate more students, especially those who would like to stay at school. And one of the challenges, we encourage them to stay at school because majorly some travel from home to school about 5 miles, 10 miles. And so when it rains, sometimes they miss school, they miss classes. And sometimes when they are going home, especially the girls can be abused on the way. So we know that when a girl child is at school is much safer because there is security, the teachers are accountable, so we know they are much safer at school. So when the parish council sat down, the trustees, they said, Father, we have to think about how to raise money and be able to raise. The dormitory will cost us $250,000 US. We hope that small, little by little, we can be able to raise this dormitory, to put up this dormitory to accommodate about 300 kids, so that the school has about 500 kids, both boys and girls. So we hope that with your generosity, with your support out there, we know that you have been generous. I know you very well, you have been generous. My experience in the U.S. is quite a good one, and so I am not worried today. And, helping someone out there, we know that I will be praying for you myself, and I know they too pray for you always, so that we can be able to serve God better in our lives. So there will be a second correction immediately after Holy Communion. Feel free to put in your gift, and then in case you were not prepared or you want to write a check, you can address it to St. Joseph, and then in the memo you write Uganda Mission. The pastor knows how to give me the money, then I can take it and give you a report. I will be here until Wednesday, so in case you want to say hello, feel free. Again, I will be around at the rectory. In the gospel today, Jesus presents to us the parable of the Good Samaritan. We all know this parable many times. We have heard about it. In answer to the question, who is my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? Jesus wanted to address the racial and ethnic tensions of their time. The word neighbor in the society of Jesus is usually meant those who are nearest to us. It was felt like that help should be given primarily to those of one's group or race or nationality. For some Jews of that time, Samaritans were looked upon, undermined, considered outcasts. So not anyone could associate with the Samaritan because they were looked upon as impure people. They were not among those to be helped. Jesus himself, a Jew, completely transforms this approach. He asks us not to decide who is close enough to be our neighbor, but rather that we ourselves become neighbors to everyone we meet and around us. I guess the lawyer who asked Jesus the question about who is my neighbor must have been shocked to hear that our Lord's response is not what he thought. For this parable, it tells us that all of us are neighbors to one another without regard to color, race, or nationality. In this case, the Samaritan became a neighbor to the wounded Judean. The Samaritan became a neighbor to the wounded Judean. By approaching and making himself present, he crossed all cultural and historical barriers. Jesus makes it clear that we are all called to love and be generous, not just some, but everyone near and far. Whenever we come to Mass, Pope Francis says, God shares his own life with us. Whenever we come to Mass to celebrate the sacrifice of Mass, God shares his own life with us, especially when we receive the Holy Eucharist. And so, when we receive the Eucharist, we become what we eat. When we receive the Eucharist, we become what we eat. That means we become Christ, because you and I, shortly, we're going to receive the body and the blood of Christ. It means you become Christ-like. I remember when the first time I came here in the States, I had no family, no mother, no father, no relative, no. But when I came in the seminary, I felt at home. I felt like everyone around me was my brother, was my sister. For 4 years, I never went home. I would have loved to be home every time, but I felt comfortable because I knew where I am is home again. And so it is a challenge to each one of us to make sure we look at each one of us as neighbor, as brother and sister, and then we treat them as we would want them to treat us as well. Jesus is telling us today to go and do likewise and treat each other as neighbor.